IBMers who are in the second or third stage often wonder if their condition will end them in a quadriparetic or quadriplegic state. In this episode, I will attempt to explain the difference between quadriparesis and quadriplegia. I myself, with a functional rating scale score of only about 1.5 and realizing there's little I can do to improve that score, I still search for alternative methods to sustain what little activity I still have. That is now my way of life. Please subscribe to this channel to show your support and intention to become an advocate of inclusion body myositis. If we all don't become advocates, we shouldn't expect that a lack of knowledge of this condition will drive any additional research towards a cure. So, what is the medical definition of quadriplegic, a term we have often heard during our lives? Simply stated, a person with quadriplegia experiences paralysis or a total loss of sensation and control of their limbs, usually from a spinal cord injury or other illness. That other illness claim defines about 80% of my current condition, although I still have some sensation and slight control in my limbs and some movement between my thumb and other fingers that can grasp very light objects. Having that slight sensation of feeling and some movement and control of my limbs sort of disqualifies me as a full-blown quadriplegic, leaving me in the defined state of quadriparesis. A person in the advanced state of IBM would probably be better defined as being a quadriparetic patient, as it is defined as a person who experiences weakness and a partial loss of function in all four limbs. A person with quadriparesis will have difficulty controlling the muscles of the affected body parts. They may be able to move one limb more than another, but with greatly diminished dexterity and strength. The unfortunate progression of IBM will cause results going from good to bad to awfully bad when reaching stage 3. Since we don't have a clear definition or reason how or why we get inclusion body myositis, let me explain some conditions that can cause quadriparesis. I'm sure there's many on this list that you may or may not be able to relate to in your individual case, and our IBM diagnosis is hidden within the muscular dystrophy on the congenital conditions list. Infections, viruses, and bacteria can attack nerve tissues or cause inflammation in the body that results in damage to the nerves. Perhaps a long list of infections, toxins, and drugs, congenital conditions, and other miscellaneous conditions leading to quadriparesis can help us realize why inclusion body myositis is so difficult for doctors to diagnose. I'm sure that when a patient presents even with the minimal signs of some form of quadriparesis, doctors must go through a long and tedious job of eliminating certain possibilities before drilling down to what IBM really presents itself as. If all the diagnostic indicators are aligned towards inclusion body myositis, an anti-NT5C1A antibody test is administered, and if conclusive, an MRI and muscle biopsy is usually ordered. The antibody test and biopsy are still the most critical diagnostic tests to determine whether you suffer from inclusion body myositis.
So the rule we follow is if somebody has anti-5C1A antibodies, they either have IBM or they're about to develop IBM.
With many of the quadriparesis causes listed above, one could only hope that a final diagnosis would include one that could be fixed with a medicine or treatment. To date, IBM does not have any type of relief that can be administered to stop or even slow our own individual rate of muscle-destructing progression, whether it comes from the pharmaceutical industry, your local health food store, or holistic provider, whereas many of the conditions listed previously may have some relief available. I've been reading too many posts on the various myositis Facebook groups where people indicate that they have not been officially diagnosed with inclusion body myositis, but think they must have it since their self-examination points to a lot of things that diagnosed IBMers talk about. People, by all means get a professional medical opinion stating whether or not you have IBM, because if you fail to do so, you might be missing out on a cure or treatment that eradicates the condition you are currently experiencing. Let's grab one of the quadriparesis causes off the list previously shown. For example, if we look at some symptoms of somebody who has experienced Lyme's disease, a layperson might mistake it for IBM because some of the IBM characteristics may be similar. Muscle limpness or lack of firmness, also called flaccid paralysis. Muscles in your limbs can be soft or lack strength, but will remain flexible or move easily. Muscle stiffness or tightness, also known as spastic quadriplegia or spastic paralysis. Your muscles can appear unusually stiff, tight, or unable to move freely. Loss of motor control, the inability to control the specific motions of your arms, legs, feet, or hands. This symptom is also known as ataxia. Difficulty walking. Because of the muscle weakness in the legs, walking may become challenging for individuals with quadriparesis, including unexpected falls. Loss of bladder control. Due to the closeness of the legs to the pelvis, some loss of feeling may affect the bladder. Reflex depression. Because the nerves conducting messages from your muscles to the brain are not functioning fully, the reflexes in your arms and legs may not be as strong or quick as they would typically be. Here's another example. I looked this one up because I had never heard of it before. These are the possible symptoms of Lambert-Eaton syndrome. Weak muscles, trouble walking, tingling sensations in the hands or feet, eyelid drooping, fatigue, dry mouth, trouble speaking and swallowing, trouble breathing, bladder and bowel changes. Lambert-Eaton syndrome is treatable if that's what you're diagnosed with. That was just two random examples of the many types of quadriparesis that can mimic that of IBM. Many of the other conditions previously listed also include close similarities to inclusion body myositis, so please don't come to the conclusion that you might have IBM by reading information on Facebook sites or any other internet source. Since there is no cure, IBM is the last disease you want, and hopefully your medical professionals can find the real cause for your quadriparesis symptoms. If it's IBM, so be it. But if it's something else that can be remedied by treatment or medication, you may have a reason to rejoice and be glad. Although IBM is considered a personal and lonely battle to handle within your household, please remember that you always have other people in your like condition that are willing to talk and assist in any way they can. Please remember to subscribe to this channel and press the notification bell if you want to receive an email announcing upcoming episodes. Now don't fall, my quadriparetic IBM friends.